Hello, and welcome to another episode of Spoil Your Appetite. I'm Tristan. Hope everyone's having a nice day, evening, whenever you're listening to this. So it's been I got some stuff to talk about, obviously. Some movies that I've seen lately. And so lately, God, since we last talked, what have I been up to? Well, one of the things that I've been up to has been, as far as like watching anything, for the first time ever, I finished watching Breaking Bad for the first time, as well as the El Camino movie. That's on Netflix. Like right after I watched Breaking Bad the series, I went straight into that movie. And yeah, Breaking Bad. I mean, for a show that I've heard nonstop when I was in high school and middle school, mainly in high school is when I heard about Breaking Bad and saw all the hype about it, and I never really got into it because at that time my what would you call my window of movies and TV was very selected. Like I just stuck to what I know and never really branched out of watching all these other kinds of movies and TV shows unless, my parents recommended me watch this movie or whatever. But yeah, it's taken me, 7 years now to finally have watched Breaking Bad as a series, and now I get all the references and whatnot. But yeah, I finished, so that's really the main highlight that I got that last time I talked on here. But yeah, Breaking Bad. What an incredible show, honestly. I have no idea how to describe this. I mean, for me, I have a lot of shows that I love, but this show, it truly is probably my favorite show of all time. I think my previous favorite show of all time, that is now considered my second, would be Netflix's Daredevil. And, I know everybody wants the fourth season, but, for me personally, I'm good. Like, when you watch all three seasons and you don't count that post-credit scene in the end of season 3, it wrapped up perfectly. And, I thought it was pretty awesome. But Breaking Bad, at the time, it was always Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones, and having seen both now, Breaking Bad's clearly the better show, honestly. I mean, it's just that evolution of the characters from the very beginning to the very end, and it's just fascinating how this nice, sweet guy, Walter White, who is a chemistry teacher, goes from, chemistry teacher, loving family member to a straight up, cooking meth and whatnot, and how he's like so involved into it to the point where he's got to kill some folks, and even his partner Jesse Pinkman is an addict, and it's really incredible how the show just keeps going forward. There's never a time where I felt like, this episode kind of feels like a filler or whatever. Like, everything just revolves around Walter White, and it's incredible. And for a show that has 5 seasons, I mean, that's perfect. I mean, the way they keep you invested in the whole story is incredible, and I surely loved it. And it's really incredible because I think in the beginning, I was told, Breaking Bad's very slow, and so I've seen, before I ever watched the show, I think I saw like a snippet of it, and it was just like, not for me. But having sat down and watched it, I was thrilled by it. I just couldn't believe the stuff that we were seeing, and it's just like, dude, I am so fucking for it. Like, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing on the screen. But yeah, it's Breaking Bad. If you've never seen Breaking Bad, I would give it a shot. I mean, if it doesn't hook you within 3 episodes, then hey, at least you tried. But man, all I can say is, man, Breaking Bad, it's an incredible show. You know what else is incredible? the stuff that I got on my topics today. So we got a first actual trailer at WandaVision coming from Disney Plus. And, I gotta say, after hearing the synopsis about how, Wanda is making an alternate reality and she's brought Vision back and whatnot, changing reality as it is, I was like, oh, okay. And then hearing that it's going to tie into Multiverse of Madness, couldn't be more thrilled. And now that seeing this trailer, I am so thrilled about it. And, there's a nice Easter egg in it where, thanks to Twitter, on the bottle, it's an Easter egg that says, House of M or something like that, something similar. And man, it's very much sort of that play on that idea of that Wanda is changing reality as it is. But from the looks from the trailer, their version is very much, seems like she's got a hold of a neighborhood of some sort. Maybe, it's her imagination. Maybe it is her affecting this neighborhood. Because at one point we see in the trailer, Vision unsnaps a person in this neighborhood or whatever, and she's like, oh my god, am I dead? And Vision's like, no, you're not dead, why would you think that? And the girl is like, because you are. And it's sort of interesting. I like this idea. And did she do this on purpose, or is she just I imagine, my theory is she's mourning and that's why she's creating this reality, but she doesn't realize how bad it gets when she's altering reality as it is. And yeah, I'm thrilled. There was stuff, I like that it's going to be very weird. I don't expect it to be as weird as, say, FX's Legion, because that show is very weird and very, you gotta keep focused on that show for sure. But yeah, and you know what, I need to finish Legion because I still have yet to see season 3, and it's killing me that I haven't seen it. But yeah, I can't wait, and seems like it's going to be coming at the end of the year. So yeah, WandaVision, I can't wait to see how trippy it is and how weird it's going to get. Speaking of shows coming onto streaming services, Peacemaker is coming to HBO Max. For those who don't know, Peacemaker is a character that's going to be featured in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, played by John Cena, which I could gush about that roll call video that they released at DC Fandom. I just couldn't be more thrilled about it, honestly. And I am definitely looking forward to this, because it's like, you already had me at Peacemaker, you already had me at John Cena as Peacemaker. I'm just like, that's totally fucking perfect, honestly. This Captain America-esque douchey Captain America or whatever, I love it. I can't wait for it, honestly. But yeah, I could be more thrilled. I'm excited for it. What could you do? Is it a prequel? Is it a set after? I imagine it's going to be probably a year before the events of the Suicide Squad, because why would you, sort of what's it called, spoil if this character is going to live or die, by setting it after the movie, of course. But yeah, I'm totally excited for it. I can't wait to see what they do with it. And yeah, it's just John Cena as an actor. I enjoy him for the most part of what I've seen him in. And that's I think the only movies I've ever seen him in was, of course, the first one being The Marine, because of the time I was so obsessed with WWE and whatnot. So, of course, I saw him in The Marine. But seeing him in stuff man, what have I seen him? Bumblebee. He was good in Bumblebee. And I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, John Cena as Peacemaker, getting that series, yeah, sure, why not? It's still not the series that is going to make me want to get HBO Max. I have still yet to get HBO Max. I feel like I might get it when one of these shows drops. You know, I don't know. I mean, I might just get it just because Harley Quinn Season 3 is coming, and I fucking love Harley Quinn, the animated show, and it's definitely not for kids at all. Very adult, and I might just get it just for that alone. And plus, you know, we're also getting, you know, Green Lantern, and J.J. Abrams' company is developing Justice League Dark, which I'm like, who are you going to have in there, you know? Very curious. I mean, we're getting a lot of DC projects that I know of, and I honestly cannot wait. Something that transitioning to another topic, something that I guess that I am kind of looking forward to is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, it's being reported that Justice League is going to get additional footage. And to me, I'm curious about this because after what I've read, it's not really clear on what these new scenes are going to be in terms of like, is it like totally new scenes since Zack Snyder's getting the opportunity to film stuff he didn't get to film before. Like, you know, what I'm trying to get at is are these scenes that was initially for his cut and whatnot, or is this like new scenes that he's just now coming up with because of the fact that, you know, he gets this opportunity, or is it both? And it's going to be interesting. I mean, my whole deal with the Zack Snyder's Justice League is like, look, I'm excited to see it, you know. Look, I've said it time and time and again, I like the theatrical cut of Justice League. I didn't mind it because at the time I just wanted a Justice League movie, and again, I haven't seen it since I last saw it, which was like 3 years ago. But yeah, this one I'm kind of nervous because now they're saying, you know, it's going to be cut up into 4 parts, or you could watch it in its entirety, which supposedly is going to be 4 hours long, which is like, okay, why not? I guess. I mean, because, you know, I like Zack Snyder. I like I like some of the things he's brought to his take on the DC characters. Like, I love the casting of Batman. You know, I love this very, very brutal, and, you know, sure, again, the killing, whatever, but I love the costume that, you know, which is very reminiscent of the Dark Knight Returns suit. I love that suit. It's my favorite Batman live action suit because it just screams comic book, lifted off from the page and onto the big screen, and I love it. But you know, with Zack Snyder's DC movies, and that's going Man of Steel, BVS, Justice League, there's only one that I can truly say I love, and that's Man of Steel. BVS, I just feel like I'm just, you know, beating the dead horse, but BVS was very disappointing to me. Like, there are stuff I love, then there are stuff that I just don't really care for. And, you know, one of these days I'm going to have to rewatch the Ultimate Edition, because I do have the Ultimate Edition. But yeah, I just, you know, Justice League is what it is, you know. I know it's Joss Whedon's Justice League at this point, but, you know, Zack Snyder getting his own take on Justice League, you know, it's exciting, and, you know, I'm happy for it, and I can't wait to see it. But at the same time, I'm just kind of worried that he's just going to throw every idea he ever had, and it's just going to throw it all in there. It's just kind of like, but is it for the best? And, you know, another thing that I'm worried about is, like, is he just going to leave this movie with a cliffhanger of what was to come for his sequel that he was supposedly supposed to do? But yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't buy it for a second that, you know, all this talk about how, you know, Warner Brothers, Warner Media, or whoever in charge wants to continue Zack Snyder's vision of the his DC universe. I just don't believe that at all. I'm just like, I don't see what be the point, because, as far as reception goes, the majority don't like what he's done. So, but then again, I'd see it, if they were to continue it, I'd see it. I mean, yeah, it'd be kind of weird to see, have the next Justice League movie, which supposedly was supposed to kill off Batman at one point. Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it all comes down to execution, honestly. And that's the thing, I gotta say. When it comes to the Zack Snyder, whatever he does, we can hear all about these details and whatnot, but it really is going to have to come down to execution. And, I'm excited, even though I'm just like, oh my god, 4 hours of Justice League. I should be excited, but I'm like, I don't know. The pacing might be slow. I don't know. Like, it could turn out pretty great. I don't know. I mean, I love long movies, but I'm like, do we really need a 4-hour Justice League movie, though? But, hey, we'll see, I guess. But yeah, these new shoots. It's exciting to hear that everybody's is coming back to shoot these additional scenes. I mean, I am kind of worried that will it be obvious that those scenes are like taking place like years later, Kind of nervous about that, but with the power of editing, I think it'll be fine. It should be fine. You know what else is fine, honestly? Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson in the MCU. We're gonna get a Disney Plus show. This literally came out yesterday, and yeah, I don't really know how to say this or anything, but I don't know. Do we really need it? This kind of feels like they're throwing stuff at the wall. At this point, they're just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. I mean, granted, I didn't read into it too much, so I don't know if this is supposed to be set in the present day, or is it supposed to be in-game, Infinity War, whatever Marvel movie, I just don't know, but I don't know if I need a Nick Fury Disney Plus show, honestly. I don't know if I need it. I mean, I'll watch it just because I'm curious, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, if it's in that same style, like Captain America, The Winter Soldier, where it's a political thriller, yeah, okay, that helps a little, but I don't know. Like, what do you tell about a Nick Fury story? I don't know. You could tell that story between, well, I don't know if they would do this, but like, get Robert Redford's character and, maybe the whole, God, I don't know, seeing those two characters interact, because in Captain America Winter Soldier, it's implied that those two had respect for each other, and so maybe play on that. Now I'm convincing myself that this is probably not such a bad idea after all. But yeah, I'm curious about this. That's for sure. Maybe it, again, Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. So I have faith in Kevin Feige. So yeah, that's all I can say about that. So, and something else that just dropped yesterday, Hawkman has been casted in the Black Adam movie. Now, Hawkman is going to be played by Aldous Hodge. Never heard of him, but I like the casting. I'm just like, maybe it's because of the fact that we're going to get the Justice Society of America and Black Adam, and I'm just like, I am so excited to see Dr. Fate on the big screen, and I'm curious to see who's going to play Dr. Fate. Now, like I said, Aldous Hodge, I've never seen him in anything. I'm sure he's going to be great. I mean, and it's nice to see that it's not somebody like a big name or whatever. But yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see how this goes. I can't wait to see the Justice Society of America take on Black Adam. And the fact that we're even getting a Black Adam movie, it's finally happening, casting's going, and just like finally, after, 6 years since they announced a Black Adam movie, it's about time we're getting the ball on the roll with this and whatnot. But yeah, I'm excited, man. I can't wait. Cannot wait. Okay, so now I got some movies to talk about. Now, in the time that, we last spoke, the last movie I saw in the theater was New Mutants. Now, the week after, I saw another movie, and it's, of course, Christopher Nolan's Tenet movie. Now, Tenet, from the trailers, is, I'll not spoil it at all. I mean, we all know, I'm sure if you've seen a trailer, it's got to do with something about time going backwards. Yeah, it's more than that, that's for sure. And I gotta say, this is probably the one Christopher Nolan that I probably won't watch again because of the fact that it's kind of disappointing. There's no real characters in here. Like, you get nothing. You get no backgrounds on the characters at all. So much so that your main character doesn't even have a name. They just refer to him as the protagonist. It's kind of weird, honestly. But yeah, Tenet was really disappointing. I mean, at times it felt like, they are just way too, over-explaining the rules of this whole, the rules of the whole inversion time or whatever. And it just kind of annoyed me. But yeah, I will say, the great thing about the movie is the fact that when you get into the second to third act and the action is going, that's when it's really, really entertaining. But I think overall I was very disappointed by it. And this is definitely a Christopher Nolan film that in general I wouldn't recommend because it's just kind of bland or whatever. It's like, sure, it's got the great spectacle and whatnot, but as far as character goes, as charming as they are with, John David Washington and Robert Pattinson, they're very good in it and they're very charming in it, but it's just you don't really know who these characters are. You just know that they're part of this secret, this CIA operation, and they're trying to prevent World War III. And it's just kind of I don't know. I just feel like characters what I was really missing in this this movie. I think the only character you care about is the supporting character. There's a woman in here. I am forgetting her name, and I am so sorry. But yeah, she's the only character you feel for because there's stakes when it comes to her character. I mean, it's, a lot of people are referring to this movie as Christopher Nolan's James Bond take, I guess. And it's kind of true. I could totally see why. But I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it, honestly, and that kind of hurts because it's just I don't want to be that person that, has, high expectations from a Christopher Nolan movie. But in general, it's just I don't know. At the end of the day, I just felt meh about it. It's a fine movie. It's not bad by any means, but again, the lack of, knowing your characters and, just knowing your characters, the over-explanation of the whole going backwards in time or whatever. And, at times, I gotta agree with some critics that said, the sound mixing is very, very strange and off, because at times when dialogue is being said, you can't really hear it because of the background noise, and it's very distracting. But, like I said, the practical effects when it comes to the action is great. The second and third act alone is probably what I would be most looking forward to if I watched Tenet again. But overall, I just feel like the movie in general is just it's fine, but definitely not a Christopher Nolan movie that I recommend on his filmography, honestly. And yeah, that truly sucks. It really does suck, honestly. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Tenet. Another movie I watched is coming from Netflix, The Devil All the Time, that has a lot of good casting in it. And I remember seeing this trailer, and after watching this movie, it's just like, I don't know. You have Robert Pattinson, you have Tom Holland, you have Jason Clarke, you have Sebastian Stan, you have Bill Skarsgård, you have all these great castings. And yet, watching this movie, I just feel like maybe it's because of the casting that this movie was so disappointing, and like kind of bad because of the fact that you have, with this great cast, you have all these great, there's like two plots going on in this movie, and it's kind of unnecessary with Sebastian Stan's character and all that whole deal, which is kind of not really investing as much. I just feel like the first 30 minutes could have just been cut out altogether, because it's basically telling you the origin of, you're telling the origin, well, sort of telling the origin of where Tom Holland's character comes from. Like, we see his dad, played by Bill Skarsgård, and whatnot, telling that story. And it's just like, you could just cut that out. You could have had dialogue, exposition, telling us about where his dad came from and whatnot. And it's just like, it's so unnecessary. You could have had that. The narration, oh my god. The narration is there just to give exposition and, what your characters are thinking and all kinds of stuff, and it's really fucking annoying. Honestly, I didn't like it at all. And, it would have been more good, I guess. Would have been better if you just focused on Tom Holland's character and the beef he has with Robert Pattinson's character, because it's really truly like, that's sort of the main story right there. We don't need to see this other plot, which does ultimately come around and like connect to the main story with Tom Holland's character, but it's just kind of like, you didn't really need this at all. But supposedly this is adapted from the book, and just whatever. But yeah, Tom Holland, after seeing this, I want to see more Tom Holland doing dramas, because honestly, he's a great actor. And, he pulls it off real well in this movie, where you get the sense that he is very protective of his family and just doesn't like dicks at all. Like, he doesn't like people who are just fucking rude and shit, especially when it comes to Robert Pattinson's character, which I gotta say, Robert Pattinson's accent in this, he's doing some sort of southern accent, because this movie takes place in the South, and this accent, I'm just like, what is this? I will say, if I didn't see this movie and if someone were to give me the audio and ask me, who do you think this actor is, I would have never guessed it's Robert Pattinson. But it's just so bizarre, and yeah, I just felt like this movie could have been set on Tom Holland's character and Robert Pattinson's character, because it's truly like, wasn't enough, honestly. Like, the story was right there, and I don't know. Overall, the movie was disappointing. I wouldn't recommend it unless you just want to see good performances. And that's truly all I can say about it, honestly. So, yeah. Another Netflix movie that I recently just watched and literally just got done watching was Netflix's Enola Holmes, starring Millie Bobby Brown and Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes. And when I saw the trailer for it, I was so not about it. It was definitely not what I was expecting, honestly. I didn't expect it to be this very kid-friendly movie, where she's breaking the fourth wall and all this business. didn't expect that at all, and so I was very turned off by it. But I read one review, and I was like, you know what? I'll give this a shot. Plus, I'm a sucker for whatever Henry Cavill is in, and honestly, after watching it, it's definitely better than I expected, honestly. I mean, I still think it's okay at best. I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. I just feel like it's one of those movies that I won't remember at all, like with most of Netflix's movies and whatnot. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, I think where it kind of just it's so strange because, you know, this movie is PG-13, which is strange. But once, you know, you start watching it and the violence, you know, there's two moments in this movie where I'm like, oh, this is why it's PG-13, because wow, this is dark and grim. But overall, it's sort of lighthearted. You know, the story is mainly about Enola Holmes trying to find her mother, and it shifts into a different plot, which is kind of like, okay, you can, I guess the hook, I guess the marketing team just felt like, you know, the overall story is, you know, Enola Holmes wanting to find her mom, played by Helen Barter Carter, I believe that's her name. And yeah, it's certainly a nice movie. I mean, it's definitely for teens. Teens can definitely watch it. Kids, you might have to close your eyes for a couple of scenes, but I think overall it's pretty good. I just feel like I don't know what's lacking. Like, I couldn't really tell you. I mean, I was just telling a friend about it. I don't really know what to say. Like, it's better than I expected. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, but I will say the things that did annoy me was, of course, the fourth wall breaking. It just felt so jarring at times. I'm just like, why do you... Okay, you want to explain to your audience what's going on, how she's figuring this all out, and all this business, and it's just like, okay, I get that, but it's just like, it feels too much, honestly. It really does. And then, of course, there's a moment in here that really annoyed the hell out of me when she needs to come up with a plan, and, you know, she breaks the fourth wall and asks us, the audience, well, do you got an idea? And it's just like, oh my god, it's just like Dora the Explorer over here. But okay, whatever. Some of the things I like the performances. I think the performances are fine. I especially would love to see more dynamic between Henry Cavill, Sherlock Holmes, and Millie Bobby Brown's Enola Holmes, because I just feel like when those two are on screen together, they're just so adorable, and they work. Like, I would love to see those two work together. I feel like I wish they would have worked more on this case on finding their mom and whatnot. And also, I don't know a whole lot about Sherlock. My only exposure to Sherlock Holmes is the Benedict Cumberbatch stuff, but man, Sherlock Holmes' brother, Mycroft or whatever, such a dick in this movie. Holy shit. Like, my god. But yeah, it's okay. I will also say it's 2 hours and 3 minutes, but boy, does it feel longer than it is. And overall, I just feel like it could have been more clever than it was, honestly. It tries to be clever, but it's like, it's not really that clever. But overall, I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not worth it at all, but hey, you know, I mean, somebody will enjoy it. It is what it is. But yeah, and that'll do it for this episode of Spoiler Appetite. One of these days, I'm just going to have to get somebody on here to podcast with me. I swear, one day I will have somebody on here with me, you know. But yeah, that's Spoiler Appetite for this week. I'm Tristan, and you've just been spoiled.